Hello and happy Thursday evening to you. Welcome into the UDDA Winner podcast. I am Dan Black. Joined with me, as always, is Sporty Jordy. Jordy, how you doing on this Thursday evening?
I'm doing good. We were just talking. I have a nice warm weather vacation trip planned for next week. So that is definitely getting me through the end of this week since it's cold and gloomy here in Jersey.
That is true. It'd be beautiful and 80 degrees in Orlando on
Yes,
Tuesday.
I'm
So
excited.
lots of positives there, but I will be jealous. I will be
Thanks.
jealous.
Sorry to rub it in.
Happens. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Before we get into everything this week, biggest news: MLB. Tough week for them. Tough week for the MLB. Not really though.
I mean, like, I kind of saw this coming. I couldn't see when I saw the proposed plan from the MLB before their meeting. I was like, there's no way this is getting accepted. And it kind of felt like they were at a standstill. They gave themselves the extra day or whatever. I just couldn't see them getting on the same page. And it's just a shame that the people running this league do not care enough to figure something reasonable out to allow, like, at this point now the regular season is being affected and it's really sad.
Yeah, no, and well, I read something on Twitter from Jason Hayward, that he put out that apparently, from like the business side of the situation, is that obviously the regular season in baseball super long, and everything. The first month of the season they basically lose money on the MLB, and they really only make their money in the playoffs and towards like the end of the season.
Yeah.
So if they don't play, it seemed basically from what he was saying is that the plan all along from the owners was to hold this out as long as possible and never play the first month of the season, basically, because they basically even out in terms of their money. Like, it means nothing to them to play the first month, so they have no incentive to get a deal done that quickly. So like they just pushed it forward. Obviously,
Isn't
the
that
players,
isn't that so messed up though? Like
100%.
for
I'm not just yeah.
from a business perspective, yeah, that makes sense. But at the end of the day, like, you already have people who have been falling off. Like, the only people that religiously watch the MLB regular season are people that have been doing it for a very long time. And like, it seems like year after year, you're finding less and less people that are invested in the MLB. So you already have this professional sport that is falling off of the wagon. And then you're going to be like, oh, yeah, we don't even care if games are like, doesn't that, it's just such a bad look. Like,
Yeah.
they should have someone in there that's remarketing the MLB, making baseball like fun and exciting again. Or even if it comes down to the entire baseball league or the entire baseball season's a month shorter, like, just make that a thing. Like,
Right.
if that's what you want to do. And that honestly might draw more people in, because then every game means a little bit more. Like, there are ways to like make the MLB what it once was. And I just don't think, from a business perspective, it might not affect you, but long term, I think this is going to have such negative effects on the league.
Exactly. No, 100%. But the issue is like, how can you reason with someone worth
You
$3 billion that
can't.
have that this investment into a baseball team is X percentage of their net worth. They have all these other businesses, like they don't they don't gain anything from it, and most of them probably aren't even huge baseball fans. You probably have a small percentage that are, that five or six owners that really, maybe 10, that really love baseball. But for the most part, this is just another investment for them, somewhere to put their money. So like, they don't really have an incentive to do anything that really favors the fans, because they can get out of this at any point. If they want to sell, even if it's at a loss, like, who cares? To them, at least. That's how
It's
it
so
is.
sad.
It is sad. It's unfortunate. Yeah, it sucks, and especially for us, because there's no baseball to bet on.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about or focus. I personally, I just want to see Bryce Harper, slam
Me
a
too.
couple home runs. Like, I don't feel like I'm asking for that much. I just
Yeah,
want a normal baseball season.
yeah. There's no listen. If there was a way to make a bet on like the future success or failure of a sport, I'm putting all my money into soccer. In the next 10 to 15 years, if you're not putting your money, putting all the chips on the table towards soccer, you're doing it wrong.
No, I am falling more and more in love with soccer, and it was confusing for me to like get into at first because there are so many different like how they do everything felt very confusing.
Yeah.
But watching it, it's like kind of addicting.
Right. Like I just don't get the like I have this argument with my dad all the time. He's like, I find it so boring. And I'm like, what about baseball? And I think it's just like, change. It's just one of those things where like they can't wrap their head around the idea
Baseball's
that
America's pastime.
it's just not something that they can get out of. And so no
But
matter what.
also, when everyone fell in love with baseball, that's when steroids were big and no one was like they were slamming homers like it was not like it was this wild, and it was exciting and it was new. Now it's a very long season. It doesn't feel like there's that much happening during the game. It really doesn't pick up until right before playoffs. And then I feel like everyone, just like every other sport, baseball playoffs, everyone really gets into, but the whole regular season, like there's a lot going against baseball right now. And then the people running the league itself. You have a compliment on your outfit today.
Thank you. My favorite shirt.
Meanwhile, I'm in my pajamas and fuzzy socks.
No, I agree with you. And listen, my number one baseball hot take, and this can be like the last thing before we get into everything else, that steroids should 100% be legalized. Steroids saved baseball once. Steroids saved baseball in the 90s when they
didn't they say
who was the hero? Who was the hero?
Steroids. Didn't they say they were going to stop checking for them right before the lockout?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure that could have been. I could have completely made that
up.
But
I really think about that. Like, if they didn't have that uptick in steroid use and then subsequent uptick in home runs and everything, like, I wonder where baseball would even be when we were younger. I do wonder that.
I'm saying shorten the season, and allow steroids, and baseball will be cool again.
It won't be cool. It's dying. It's dying. But it's tough to watch because it's literally just like the slowest death possible. Yeah, because it's gonna be a while, but like it's just death by 1,000 cuts.
Oh, that's a great Taylor Swift song.
I didn't know that was a Taylor Swift song.
It's such a good one. You should go listen to it after the show. It's a beautiful Taylor Swift song.
Ja Morant. That. He's had a season. You and I are both fans of his.
Yes.
He had a breakout game, a career high. I believe it was 51, 52 the other night. One of the craziest. One, he had a disgusting dunk.
Oh, it was like my jaw was literally like I had to pick it off the ground.
Yeah. 2, he had one of the greatest shots I've ever seen. I'm sure you can probably attest to that. Also a great pass by Steven Adams. Doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah.
Perfectly. If that's not
everyone's
perfect,
so focused on Ja Morant that they're kind of removing, but it was the whole thing was like beautifully executed.
It was like the Leitner shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very similar. Like everything had to be perfect. It was. It worked. His odds have boosted from plus 1,800 to plus 1,200, plus 1,300, depending on where you're looking.
Yeah.
You and I are obviously huge Embiid fans. He's still the heavy favorite to be crowned MVP. But would you be surprised if Ja Morant was the MVP come the end of the season?
If Ja Morant continues, and obviously right now, Joel Embiid is my MVP. I think no matter what happens, I want Joel Embiid to get it at the end of this season just because he deserves it, and he has deserved it for a couple years, and he's come so close, but not quite there. And especially with the trend that the Sixers are on now, and I know we'll talk about that in a minute, but I just think if he keeps this up and if the Sixers keep going, like there's no reason it shouldn't be Joel Embiid. However, if Ja Morant also, like if this breakout game was the start of something incredible and he continues on, like obviously not every game is going to look like that. Like the cards are just not always going to fall in that favor. But if he even just kind of keeps it up and is on that track, I think he's absolutely in it. And at the end of the day, if he keeps this up and keeps doing Ja Morant things, I wouldn't be that shocked, especially if because with James Harden there and they're split, Joel Embiid and him are going to be splitting a little bit more. If he kind of evens out and just not does poorly because he's Joel
Right, he's
Embiid,
Joel.
he's still being incredible, but if it kind of lessens a little bit for him because, and like you even see Matisse step, like you see this whole, like the whole Sixers team is stepping up. So if Joel kind of starts to decrease and John Morant keeps going up, I wouldn't be shocked, but I still want Joel Embiid to be MVP at this current state of the game.
I agree with you on that. And I think another part is obviously the fact that the media votes on it, and the media loves John Morant.
Exactly. I mean, how can you not? Like, he has
100%. He literally has taken a team that no one cared about for the longest time.
And now I'm like excited to watch them.
I'd much rather watch the Grizzlies than almost any other team.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Sixers, I'm biased. I love watching the Grizzlies. I love watching the Chicago Bulls right now too. They are fun.
Very fun. I would love to see a Warriors Grizzlies, like, I don't think they'll meet in the Western Conference Finals. I think, I think probably the Grizzlies will be out before that. But I'd like to see them in like the second round matchup.
That would be nice.
I think that'd be an interesting. I feel like it would be similar to like when the Sixers played the Hawks last year, except that whole debacle. But an opportunity for, yeah, exactly, for Ja Morant to sort of like showcase his true talents on the biggest stage against a great level of competition. I would love to see those two go at it between Ja Morant and Steph Curry. I think that'd be electric.
That would be a lot of fun. I would definitely be there for that.
100%. Speaking of electric, the Sixers, ever since they acquired James Harden, have been electric. 3-0 with him, and really just dominating everybody.
Yeah.
They're I think 4th or 5th in the betting odds.
Sixers minus 10.5 last night was actually never a doubt.
100%.
Yeah.
Neither was my Matisse Thybulle bet.
No, that was sick.
People that don't know, now they know.
Yeah.
Matisse Thybulle, points, rebounds, assists, always at 9.5, and I sweated it out because he got like an early 3.
I saw that, I was like, Matisse.
Yeah, he got like an early 3, got a couple like rebounds, and I was like, all right, great, we're right there. And then he didn't really do much the third quarter. He was like right at like 7 or 8 total going to the fourth quarter, and then he didn't play until like 4 minutes left. I'm like, shit. Literally, Doc Rivers is gonna screw me over, and then he comes in and gets like a putback, like little tip in. I'm like, yeah,
that's what we needed.
DeAndre Ayton screwed up the parlay, so it's fine. But
at least Matisse covered.
Yeah, Matisse did his thing. It's all that matters. But the Sixers, they've been now. Sample size has been the Knicks, who are a disaster.
Yeah,
and a bad defensive team in Minnesota. So it's not a fair sample size, and they have a great string of games coming up against Brooklyn, as we know, and against Chicago, and I think the Bucks are in there as well. So they'll actually be playing playoff caliber teams and teams that they'll face down the road. But from what you've seen so far, are you confident in betting the Sixers to win the championship?
Abso-freaking-lutely. And it's not even just because obviously James Harden coming in is making a difference, but it just feels like it felt like Ben Simmons was the cancer, and now that the cancer has been removed, like James Harden and Joel Embiid have this energy, and it feels like it is rubbing off on every single person on this team has stepped up their game a little bit. And I know everyone said like the Sixers are a great team, like our starting 5 is great, but our bench, like we don't have that much depth, which is true. But I think with the energy and like what everyone is bringing to the table, and if you have James Harden and Joel Embiid out here doing their thing, if everybody else just kind of does the bare minimum and helps them out, you don't need a great bench. Like we have 2 superstars. So I think at the end of the day, with the camaraderie and like the way everything is just working, obviously it's very new, so who knows how long it'll last, but if it keeps up, and if this just like happy-go-lucky, everyone's going out there and bringing the best out of each other, if that continues, I don't know who's going to be able to stop them, because they check all boxes at that point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Bucks are the only team that come to mind that I think are really worrisome that can match up well. Because again, Brooklyn, we have no idea what
Yeah, we'll get into
who can even
Brooklyn.
if Kyrie will even be able to play in the playoffs, at least at home. We have no idea if Ben Simmons will play. Health is always an issue for KD. Like, it's just like there's way too many questions, I think, for them to be real contenders. The
Everyone
Bulls,
who's still saying that Brooklyn won this trade,
yeah, that's the worst freaking take of my life.
it's so bad. It's god awful.
It really, like, and people are still pounding it into the ground for some
Oh,
reason. I
yeah.
don't get it, but whatever. Yeah, I like the Bulls. They're fun to watch. I don't think they're there
They're not
right
there
now.
yet.
I don't think they're there
Yeah.
yet. I think next year they'll be right there. Because I don't think they have enough like high end star power to really take them over the top.
I agree.
I think they have a lot of like stars, but no one right there.
They're
But
still very young, too.
yeah, no, 100%, 100%. They're a year away, I think,
Yeah.
from really being everything that they can be. But yeah, I mean, I did bet the Sixers. I like their odds. I did bet the Sixers championship.
Yeah. And like you said, I do think the Bucks make me the most nervous right now. And that is obviously if KD comes back, if Kyrie can play at home, if Ben Simmons starts playing, the Nets become a very
Right,
intimidating
100%.
team. However, with the way it's looking, I don't think all of the chips can fall. And that brings us to our next. Will Ben Simmons play at all this season? So I think until we can see what the Nets are actually going to look like, I'm not even freaking worried about them. The Bucks are my number one concern because we know, I mean, we saw what the Bucks did last year. We know how good the Bucks are. I love Giannis with my entire heart and soul, but if it's a Sixers Bucks Eastern Conference, I'm riding Sixers till the end, obviously.
What would you? I know we're like doing what are the odds?
Yeah.
What would you put the odds at that Ben Simmons actually touches the floor in the regular season as like a player, not like on the bench, just doing his thing?
I think the chances are like I'm looking not low, but I'm saying like plus 110.
That
Like a slight. Is that what you were gonna say?
like
Or
yeah, I was gonna say like plus 100, plus like 200, like just
we're
enough
there.
that it's attainable. But I still think it's far fetched, especially given the
Yes.
fact that like the regular season ends April, second week of April or so.
And he hasn't even made his debut.
He hasn't made his debut.
Timeline.
It is coming clearer and clearer that he's not going to play next Thursday.
Which even if he made his debut for the Nets earlier, I knew he was going to find a way to sit out of that
never
game.
Going to play this game.
Never.
He
would have literally went up to someone and been like, "Give me COVID." Like,
yeah.
give
literally
me
cough in my mouth.
Yeah, spit in my drink.
Yeah.
So he did not have to play in Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me. He's that type of guy. I think it's like, and apparently his back issues. I have no idea where that came from. He hasn't done anything for like a year, so I don't know how he could have back issues. And if he has these back issues, he's not just gonna miraculously come back the next game after the 10th. He's gonna have to milk it so at least it looks real. And by that point, it'll be like April. What's the point?
Yeah.
Like you have like 3 games left.
Yeah, no, it's the whole thing is ridiculous. And I get it, the idea. And like, I even thought this about the Nets prior to the trade when it was James Harden, Kyrie, and KD. Like, it looks great on paper, but we've talked about they played 16 games together, the three of them. Like, this isn't a team. Like, yeah, I get it on paper. If they all play together, it's going to be great, but you have a very complicated situation and especially now with Ben Simmons in there. You have all divas. And when you have a team of all divas, it's not going to freaking work.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
There's no other way that I can describe it.
And like, I'm sorry. Obviously I wouldn't wish for a team's downfall, but after everything Ben Simmons put us through, I love it. I think it's absolutely hysterical.
I would absolutely wish for a team's downfall. I'm all about it. I'm all about it in this situation. If it was like a team I like I don't wish for like the Grizzlies downfall, like the Suns. I like them.
Yeah.
But one, they're our rivals. Kind of. They've only been around for like, whatever. but two, they're just scumbags. I gotta know. That's the best way I can describe it.
No, they're literally divas. They're prissy divas that only care about their image and themselves. Like, now, do you find it ironic that Ben Simmons goes to Brooklyn? He's ready to play. All of this is behind him. He's so excited. They make a trade. He says, like, oh, I don't love this trade. And now all of a sudden he has back sore. Like, I think, like, this is from a Taylor Swift song as well. Now it's the offseason. We can have so many Taylor Swift references. I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. It's not the exact perfect situation that Ben Simmons had in his mind. There's something that he doesn't 100% agree with. And now all of a sudden he's 1 foot out the door.
He's just a weird guy. I don't know.
He's so bizarre.
Such a bizarre human being. Speaking of bizarre human beings, Aaron Rodgers.
That was a perfect segue.
It was not really planned, but kind of planned. It's actually 100% planned. To be fair, Aaron Rodgers is still in limbo land. What are the odds that you actually see him coming back? And are you, in the last few years with Aaron Rodgers, everyone has been, this is the year they finally get over the hump. I am not in that camp, even if he comes back. I'm done with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I'm off it. I'm not touching them to win anything. And maybe that's just when they'll win, is when no one else believes in them.
When everyone gives up.
Right. When everyone's finally done. I just don't see him, one, returning, and two, even if he does, them doing anything. Because it's too much drama.
Yeah, no, I honestly, with the way everything's looking now, I honestly do see him ending up back in Green Bay. I'm going to have the odds more in his favor. Not crazy. I'd say like minus 250. Aaron Rodgers back to Green Bay.
That's fair.
Because obviously there's still very much a chance for a trade given everything. But from all the reports I'm seeing, it seems pretty likely that he stays in Green Bay. And I was one of the people last season, like I saw the Packers winning the Super Bowl from prior to the 2021 season even starting, and I carried that through all the way until they lost against the Fort. I didn't even consider a loss against the. I was like, this is a win because the Packers are going to the Super Bowl. Like, I was like, this is their year, and then for them to lose in the way they did. Now, for Aaron Rodgers to stay in Green Bay, I think they're going to have to pay him a pretty penny. And with that, with Davante Adams also wanting a pretty penny, you're losing Adams. So if Aaron Rodgers stays, Davante Adams is out the door. And then at that point, I genuinely don't think they have a chance without Davante Adams.
No, they'll be terrible.
They'll
literally be awful.
I won't say I still, especially with their division, I still say they're a playoff team. But without Davante Adams, I can't see them being a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, no, even with them, hot take. Without Davante Adams, even with Aaron Rodgers.
You don't think they make the playoffs?
No, I think they'll make the playoffs.
Okay.
I think that the Vikings would win that division.
What about the Bears?
Well, the Bears, the issue is I love Justin Fields. I haven't seen enough from him yet to fully believe in him. I have no idea about I don't like the fact that they got a defensive coordinator. I don't think they have enough talent right now to really be competitive. Whereas, like, at least with the Vikings, Kirk Cousins sucks. Like, there's no way.
He's painfully average.
He's so average. He's literally, his name's Kirk. Like, who's great that's named Kirk? Kirk Heinrich, I guess. Kirk Herbstreit.
Yeah.
I just completely backfired on my argument. That's neither here nor there.
He's like, oh, well, I will give you a list of guys.
Yeah, here's two guys. Here's two white guys that were brutal as athletes, but one's made a career as a panelist, at least. No, it's painfully average, but they have so much. They have enough talent. They have Justin Jefferson. They have Adam Thielen. Their defense obviously needs work, but like, Aaron Rodgers without Davante Adams, that is gigantic.
Yeah.
That is huge. And I think that they could easily sneak up out of nowhere and take the division. That's gonna if Davante Adams doesn't come back, but Aaron Rodgers does, that's gonna be my bet. Mark it down. Vikings to win the NFC North next season.
I hate that I'm admitting this. I don't hate that. Like, I don't like. It sounds like a hot take, but it very feasible.
100%. It sounds like a hot take, and I'm not a hot take person. But like,
I know that's
just
usually
don't.
my job.
Yeah, it's usually your job. I just don't see who could replace Devontae Adams to that level. Like, who's
I
gonna
agree.
step in right away and
There's no
have
one. Devontae Adams is one of
25
the best.
touchdowns to their name?
Yeah, no, and like there, it's not even that Devontae Adams is like as good as he is because we know how good he is. Like that's not something you can argue, but it's also like his connection with Rodgers. Like you
Right.
can get another good receiver in there, but to, like that connection is what
But it
makes
takes
things.
time.
Yeah,
Like that.
so it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting
Yeah.
and. I just like I mean, like I have like I love Aaron Rodgers and I kind of wanted him to go off on like this high note, but I think with the way everything's looking, it's getting pretty complicated. And another thing that we've kind of mentioned, like where he could go if he goes to a team in the AFC, like if he does get traded, I think he's screwed.
Yeah.
There's no way I think he could. There are a few teams, but like competing in the AFC is like
Brutal.
beyond difficult anymore.
Yeah.
There's too much young talent. So I'm not saying his chances are over. Like it's not like because he is still Aaron Rodgers, but it makes it a lot more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of young talent, I know we were going to talk about Tom Brady, but we talked about Tom Brady enough last week, and he's
It's
on his
50-50 right
own.
now.
He's on
Yeah.
his own. Yeah. What are the odds? Who knows? No one knows. He's Tom Brady. What we do know is that the combine's going on right now, and the highlight of the combine always is the 40-yard dash. And there's some speedsters in it this year. We had the quarterbacks running today, I believe the wide receivers and some other group. But that leaves plenty of other people, running backs, cornerbacks, all that kind of stuff. So we did a graphic earlier this week about what the odds are of who will have the fastest 40 time. Now, some of those people were wide receivers. However, we did have some running backs and cornerbacks in there as well. So who do you think, non-wide receiver, is going to have the fastest 40 time?
All right. Well, I think from Michigan, all the hype around guys from Michigan, a lot of the talks on Aiden Hutchinson, he's not going to have a quick 40-yard. It's just not going to happen. The end. My focus is on Daxton Hill, cornerback. I really want to see what he can do here.
All right, so he was at plus 400. I'm going with the guy right below him in Isaac Taylor Stewart. Fight on. Go Trojans out of USC. He's quick. The other guy who I think could have really a fast time and could be at the top, Tariq Woolen. Now, most people don't know who he is because he went to University of Texas, San Antonio. They got some speed down there in San Antonio, apparently, in the quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they run tomorrow. So we will have a good opportunity. I don't know. Fact check that. I have no idea. And no one pays attention to the combine once.
No, I just like watch the combine. I like pay attention to the combine after it's done. And I'm like, all right, who did what kind of thing? But I don't watch it as it's happening.
I've been to the combine, and I can
You've
tell
been
you,
there?
I have been.
Was it cool?
No.
Oh, okay.
The combine is the most, hands down, the most boring thing.
It's more for coaches and the people actually in it.
Yes.
And that's.
I went when I went to IU. I got free tickets, and I went the year that Wentz was in the draft, and I watched him throw and everything. Like you had to be. It's like golf. Like you have to be quiet the entire time. You're just like up there in Lucas Oil Stadium, like at the very top. And it's just like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Nothing going on. Waste of time. Never go to the draft or combine.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine that being fun. Like I said, it's not that. I mean, I'm excited that it's happening because it means that there's going to be more talk. There's going to be more stuff for us to look into, kind of thing. But you also, like, everyone completely overlooked Justin Herbert in his combine. And when you go back and watch his combine, it was like beyond, like, he showed us everything in the combine that he's doing now, but like no one talked about it. Like, I get why coaches want the combine. I think it's more for like them interacting with these college guys and getting a vibe for them. That's why I kind of like what Nick Sirianni brought a basketball. Yeah, I feel like that's a better way to kind of like go about it because like one performance, one dash isn't really going to tell you anything about how they're actually going to be.
Yeah, I the one thing I've never understood is like in any sport, when GMs and coaches like draft a guy based on how they perform to the combine. Like this has this has zero to do with how they're going to perform like in a game. Like why are you
Yeah.
basing it off of anything other than the game tape? And like
It's literally like the SATs, like when you're getting into
yeah,
college. Like if colleges like decline you because your SAT scores are a little low, but like you have a good GPA. Like it doesn't, or
it
if
doesn't
you
mean
have a low
anything.
GPA and then you have a great SAT, like
Right,
it's not compatible. It's not the
right,
same.
100%. I 100% agree. It
That was
makes
a good analogy that I just came
a
up
great
with off the
analogy.
top of my head. I'm
Great
kind of proud of
analogy.
myself for that one.
No, it's good. Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I've been. It makes no sense to me. It just
Yeah.
makes no sense why why we even have the combine, to be honest, other than just like to schmooze.
That's all it is. It's all a
It
schmooze. It's
really is.
another way for the NFL to make some more money. They advertise
I
it.
mean,
There's a
yeah,
bunch of media
that's true.
there. That's
That's true.
it's just added content.
That is a valid point.
Yeah.
Speaking of big content, this weekend before we wrap up our show, UFC is on UFC 272, a huge one. Covington versus Masvidal. We have a great contest for that down in our UDDA app. So if you haven't already, download the UDDA app. We do have a former NFL player involved in the UFC. We've seen a lot of that over the last few years.
Yeah.
Greg Hardy, 8 months away from the octagon. He makes his return against Sergey Spivak. He is plus 160. So a little bit of an underdog is Hardy. Where's your money on him this weekend?
I
Taking him?
don't see him winning. Um, I get he comes out with like this very like Conor McGregor-esque attitude about the whole thing, but like he really hasn't shown us anything that impressive. He's coming off his second career knockout loss, and he still sounds like, yeah, I'm Greg Hardy, but like he's just a nutcase, which would
That's
probably
true.
work well in UFC, but I mean, he has a good record, but I don't know. I don't feel it for him this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Although I do like the plus money enough to like sprinkle a little bit, just to
Just in
have a little,
case.
yeah, just in case. But yeah, I just don't think he's that good of a fighter, just in general. That
No.
doesn't work
All
out.
he's talking about, like, he's not talking about himself, he's just talking about his weight. He's like,
Yeah,
"I weigh this and I'm like, "Who cares? Like, can have you been working out? Have you been like, I wanna hear him, like, actually talk, but, like, he's just so like, "Oh, of course I'm gonna go out and win because I weigh 295 pounds and someone said I weighed 3 t," and I'm like, "Oh my god, stop speaking."
no, I don't think it'll work out well for him. But the main fight obviously is Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal is a heavy underdog. Colby
I know.
Covington,
I saw you take Masvidal, and I was gonna take him just because he's such a heavy underdog. It feels wrong to take the favorite here. Like, it
yeah,
feels like a trap.
yeah, that's I talked to some of my friends that follow UFC much closer than I do, and I said like, is Masvidal a good bet with plus money? Because if that, I think it was early in the week, it was like plus 270. I think it started. He was plus 290. He's like, absolutely. And I don't understand why. I tried to like look at their past fights and understand why it's such, why Covington's such a heavy favorite. Um, I mean, Masvidal's lost his last two fights, both to Kamaru Usman. Colby Covington's lost two of his last three fights and both losses were to Usman as well. He beat Tyrone Woodley, but like neither of them are coming off of recent fights where they've been great. So I'm
Yeah.
just not understanding why Colby Covington is such a heavy favorite.
That's exactly
Um,
where my mindset was too, and at that point, it's not even worth really putting money on him because if you
100%.
win, like, at this point, just take the underdog just in case.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, like I understand from the standpoint of Covington was on a scorching streak in this, like ending the summer of 2019. I think he won like six straight fights
yeah.
leading up to that, but then sort of evened out. So yeah, I mean these guys used to be best friends. Now they can't stand each other. So this is gonna be an epic fight. And you can change your pick to Masvidal. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I think I have to take him. I legitimately I can't justify taking a, especially in UFC. This isn't like anything can happen. It takes
Yeah,
one punch or
yeah,
one thing. So I don't know. I can't ignore the odds here.
I agree. Yeah, The plus money is just too. It's too good, and
It's too tempting.
they're too. I think they're too evenly matched of fighters to not take Masvidal.
I agree.
That's my opinion. I don't know.
I agree.
What do I know? I don't fight.
Yeah, little meat, 5 foot tall,
There you
sporty
go.
Jordy in the ring.
You give yourself 5 feet.
So I went to the doctor a couple weeks ago, and he told me I was 5 feet and half an inch.
Oh,
So who knows?
half
Maybe
an
I
inch
grew.
matters.
I
Half an inch
know.
matters. Listen, Kenny Pickett. It's the difference between him being 8.5-inch hands and 9-inch hands.
Exactly.
Well, that's a couple draft spots, honestly.
Exactly.
I
can get on every roller coaster ride. I check all the important boxes. We're good.
It's all that matters. All right. Well, another great show. Good job, Jordy. Make sure, if you haven't already, to download the UDDA app, and of course, follow us on all our socials at UDDA_winner. The next time you see Jordy, she will be beaching it and doing the podcast from her deck in 86-degree Orlando weather.
Oh, yeah.
I'll hate her for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.